You're not allowed to talk before the share.
I said I'll be speaking to Eli about it.
Okay.
No, is your seminary opening? Or you're not sure?
Oh yeah, Mitzvah. Please God.
All right, Rabbi Isai. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. How's the Olam doing? Oh, that's why. I'm on mute. Okay, Rabbi Isai. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good evening. Good morning, wherever you are.
It's only 12:14. We have another minute.
No, Ravelli said he's starting early chats.
Okay, sorry. Email.
Emails early, so people want to get the dawah and get on that.
All right, Chaparine, another few words. Everybody on Zoom.
Some of us want to go to sleep too.
Ellie, I'm about to send you something. Ellie,
Yes.
I just sent you an email.
Leave this for later, so.
Thank you for sending it. You should send it in middle share, maybe. Maybe I'll get it.
Just got it this second. This second got it.
Okay, but I have already emails that I'm reading, no? Is this important for today?
Yeah, it's a sponsorship.
So send it to me in a text. Okay, let's do a sponsorship. Hold on. Fine. Today's shir is sponsored Lilu Nishmas Avi Moiri Achaver Reb Eliezer Reb Shraga Faivish Zechroin Levracha. This is sponsored by our dear friend Faivish. He's on Zoom every single day. Asher limud ha-gemara hayaner leraglov umruchasoi berakoides Yerushalayim tibona v'zikoinen. Right over there. We have it up. Okay, now what does it say here? My father Shalom was a Moike Shabbos and had a real Avaz HaTorah and a love for Vertlach and learning. Kanfiyoina mentioned yesterday keeping things during the week for Shabbos and delving into concepts that he could expound upon. He would love the shir, no? Faivish, he would love it. And delving into concepts that he could expound upon in the Gemara shir he went to. He was an Anov and loved people, always with a Mila Tova for everyone. Yehi Zichur Baruch Yishkoyach Faivish. So, first we have to take care of business here. Oh, you know what we'll do? Let's do an amazing email here from Phil Rosenblatt. It says like this: is Gary on today? If Yosef, if Gary's not on, so you're in charge. There's a bunch of people that are not muted. So make sure that everybody's muted. If you're able to mute everybody, it'll be great. Rebelli.
It's not possible unless the actual host is on. So everybody has to make sure they mute themselves. And everybody
So Steve, let me just say, so I'll say a few names here. Steve Rappaport, please mute. Zev Roth. Who else? I think Yoel is not muted. So the Oilam, please mute. No?
I muted myself.
No, you're not muted, Steve. Rabbi Isai? No. Somebody get Gary. I know that he's sick. He has COVID, but we have to wake him up. Okay, here we go. Very good. Shkoyach. Says Phil Rosenblatt. Reb Eli wanted to say thanks for a wonderful shir. Your hard work, charts, stories make learning contagious, and we share your thoughts, the Torah, and stories with our family and friends. One of Zechuyos is connecting us all on Zoom. One of your Zechuyos is connecting us all on Zoom. I still hear people. David, maybe it's you. Oh, the new guy's coming on. That's the problem. We really need a host to do this. Okay. Otherwise, I hear a lot of background is coming through. So, Gary's here. Okay. Shalom Aleichem, Gary. Feel better. Basically, he's saying that we're connecting people on Zoom. It's true. Yesterday, right after the shir, even Steve Rappaport found his Mechutin's son or something on. It was very nice. No matter our background, learning experience, type of hat we wear or don't wear, you have connected us all, as all that we need in common is we are Yehudim. Even those on their way to join the clown. Shout out to Lev. He gave you a shout out, Lev. Are part of the Zoom team. Seeing the younger Talmidei giants like Yoel. So here's Yoel. I got a picture of Yoel. Where's this picture? I lost it now. Had it a second ago. Oh, here, it's on my Gemara. Boysai, if you don't know who Yoel Bergman is, if you're watching on YouTube, here's Yoel Bergman. He's on every single day. He's a big tzaddik from Chicago. And a shout out to Moshe Apter. Here is Moshe Apter. Here's one of the pictures. He's from Montreal. Yoel Bergman's from Chicago. Yeah, I'm listening.
Your video is off.
Which one?
The one we can see you on, that you Zoom, that we can't see you on.
How about now?
No.
Oh, the host stopped me. Not sure why. Tell Gary that he has to do my video. What can I do?
Right here.
Oh, Gary. You cannot start your video because the host has stopped it. This is the problem when our host is a little sick. No, you don't see me still?
No.
Gary, what's the pshat that nobody can see me? You want to get on for a second?
Hold on 1 second.
Start my video. Here we go. Oh.
There you go.
So was it off from the beginning?
No, just now, just for a little bit, because he muted everybody. But
Jeez.
it's fine.
His head is not there. Everybody be Michael Gary. Okay, so we have like this. Did you guys see the picture of Yoel Bergman? That's the big question. This is a very important picture.
They didn't
No.
see the picture.
You didn't see the picture of Yoel Bergman. I don't even know what.
Come
Oh,
on, find it, quick, find it.
here we go. Yoel Bergman. Here we go. This is what he looks like if you. Well, the guys on YouTube, the guys on Zoom know what he looks like. It's the guys on YouTube don't know. And then we have Moshe Apter. His mom sent me this. Moshe loves learning because of you. So we showed this a while ago. Here's another one of him learning with his pet rabbit, the Kitzer. So he goes like this: seeing you young Talmidei giants like Yoel, Shmuley. Oh, Shmuley. I don't know if he's on. Shmuley from Manchester. And Lynn, how come you don't send in? What's going on with you? And Gargir, Shmuley and others eager to learn, makes the shir unique and special. Looking forward to coming and meeting all the MDY team in person, Phil Rosenblatt. It's amazing. Really amazing that everybody from around the world, we have Hasidim and Litvaks and Misnagdim and Lubavitchers all over the world. All right. So, we have an amazing sugya today.
Oh, wow.
Tell you. Gary, let me see what you look like. I got to see this. This is like, it's gewaldig today. Says the Gemara, Itmar, we are holding 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 lines from the bottom. Be'ez Hashem, we're going to finish today's daf. Omar Rebbe Zeira Omar Rav. So yesterday, we started the perek of Rebbe Lezer, the Milah, talking about Hilchas Milah, and somehow we found ourselves in a mavoi, talking about an eruv and a mavoi, and now we're just going to finish off the sugya. If you were to read this sugya by yourself, you might find it complicated, but I simplified it. Very easy with a nice chart. Itmar Omer Reb Zeira Omer Rav Mavoi Shelo Nishtatvu Boy Ein Mithalten Boy Elo Bedal Ramos. So we have a mavoi. This is the alleyway. The way the mavoi is built is you have the houses down here. Over here, in this case, you have 4 houses, which we need, and you have courtyards. 2 houses go into a courtyard. 2 houses go into a courtyard. These courtyards open up into an alleyway. Now, what you do is you make an eruv between the house and the grass, the chatzar. That's an eruv chatzeres. Similarly, and that would make an eruv between these 2 houses. You make an eruv. You make an eruv here, and you can make an eruv to combine all 4 houses. Then you make an eruv called a shituf. Shituf mavoi, it's the same idea as an eruv. We'll just call it shituf. You combine the mavoi with everything else. So now I could carry from here to here, or from here to here, everywhere. This whole thing is considered one domain, one private domain. So, says the Gemara, what if I didn't do a shituf? I did not do a shituf over here. Now, midaraisa, I could carry in a mavoi. Chacham said, only 4 amas, says the Gemara. 4 amas. I treat it as a carmelis. I can only go 4 amas, 8 feet, stop, and that's it. Says the Gemara, Omar Abai, Hamil Samro, Amar Reb Zeira v'lei Pirsha. Reb Zeira said it, but he didn't say if there is any way out of it. Is there any wiggle way? Ad Asa Rabbi Baravu Pirsha. Rabba comes along. The Omer of Nachman and Rabba Bar Omer Rab. Mavoi shaloi nishtatvu boy eruv chatzeros in batim. Ein metaltem boy el arba amos. Loi eruv chatzeros in batim. Mutter letalta bekuloi. It would seem the reverse of logic. So he says like this. If there's no eruv over here, then I could carry over here. If there's no eruv between the bayis and the chatzar, I didn't do an eruv chatzeros, then I'm permitted, then it's okay for me to carry from the chatzar to the mavoi, in the mavoi. But if I did make an eruv between the houses and the courtyard, then it's also for me to carry only 4 amos over here. What's going on? Right? It doesn't make sense. If I do the right thing, I make an eruv, then I cannot carry, then I'm limited in how much I can carry, only 4 amos. If I don't make an eruv, then it's a free-for-all. So the Gemara makes an attempt. Listen to this attempt. The Gemara goes away from it. Rav holds that in order to make a shituf, mavoi, in order for me to be able to carry in my mavoi, I need 2 conditions. I need 2 chatzeros, like I have here. There's a line here, 1, 2. Plus, each chatzar has to have 2 houses. So a total of 4 houses. I need to have 4 houses. 2 and 1, 2 and 1 is 4 houses. Each chatzar has 2, so it's 4 houses, and there's 2 chatzeros. That's the only way a mavoi could work. Then I can make a sheet of mavois. Says the Gemara. So if I make an eruv, perhaps what's going on here, I lose my houses. I don't have houses. Because what does the eruv do? An eruv does that the chatzar in the house is 1. Okay, but then I lose my house. I'm supposed to have 4 houses. I don't have houses anymore. Everything is one rishus. If I don't have a house, then I lose this halacha that I need 4 houses and 2 chatzeros. I don't have 4 houses. I have 1 house. I have 2 houses. I don't have 4. Let's see inside. Says the Gemara, Omalei Rebbe Chanino Chayzal Rabbo, Maishno ke erbu chatzeros in batim, dinitku chatzeros v'nasu batim. What happens is, when I make an eruv, what am I doing essentially? I'm combining the chatzar with the house. I'm making them 1. I'm saying it's 1 rishus. Why could I carry from my house into my chatzar? Because my house and my chatzar are 1. It's like having an extended house. How did I extend the house? By making an eruv. Okay. V'rav l'tamei, and Rav holds the Omar Rav ein amovi nito belechi v'koira. This lechi and koira business that a mavoi has, even this one has a lechi. It's not so, you can't really see it, but there's a little beam over here, going up and down, lechi. We're not even talking about a koira, not to confuse anybody. We're holding the kuf lamed aleph, omer aleph on top. Batim v'chatzeros petuchim l'soichai. I need 4 houses, 2 chatzeros, open to the mavoi. Just like over here, 4 batim, 2 chatzeros, open to the mavoi. So I misspoke. What happens is when you combine the house with the chatzar, so you lose your house. Not that you lose your chatzar. You lose your house and you have a chatzar. A batim ikka, chatzeros leka. You lose your chatzar. Because the chatzar became part of the house. The halacha is, Rav says you need 2 chatzeros, 4 houses. Yes, I have 4 houses, but I only have 1 chatzar or no chatzar. I don't have a chatzar. Says the Gemara, listen to this. So now we're going to take it here, Balpeh, for a second. If that's the case, that you're concerned that technically I don't have a chatzar. You need to have physically 2 chatzeros, and I just lost my 2 chatzeros because they became part of my house. So that's you're saying that's because you made an eruv. Ask the Gemara, even if you didn't make an eruv, I have that problem. Why? Because the halacha is I cannot go from my house I can't bring anything from my house to my chatzar without an eruv. So if I don't have an eruv, then I have a boundary between my mavoi and my house. I cannot bring anything from my house to my mavoi because I have a chatzar in between that prevents me to get there. I can't go from my house to my chutzner. If so, when I'm viewing the mavoi, when I look at the mavoi does not have houses because there's a huge boundary. There's a fire over here. I can't get across. If I can't get across, then this mavoi doesn't have houses. It's as if it doesn't have houses. Says the Gemara inside, Kilo Ervunami, Lechzinu Lahani Batim Kimandistimi Dami. These houses are closed off. Pretend they're boarded up. They're in a bad neighborhood. They're boarded up. Why are they boarded up? Because I cannot get out of them. I can't come out of a house into a chatzar without an eruv. And therefore, v'chatzeres ikyo batim leka. So then I do have 2 chatzeros, but I don't have 4 batim. Rav says you need 4 houses, 2 chatzeros. My houses are no good halachically. Not halachically, technically speaking. Technically speaking, I don't have a house. I don't have a house I could get to without an eruv. Says the Gemara, wait a minute, I have a way out of this. Without an eruv, there's a concept called bittul rishus. So, similar to what we had the other day, we're going to have it again today. I could be mafker my nechasim. Even on Shabbos, yes, you could leave your house. You're not stuck in your house. We're talking about an eruv. Dr. Mazinkas. Okay, fine.
Speaking of stuck in your house, are you really stuck in your house? Are you really a bidud, or is this self-imposed bidud?
Well, if I tell you the truth and somebody sees me outside or whatever recording in my studio downstairs, I might get into trouble. The way it works in Eretz Yisrael is that the Shin Bet, the Shabak, they track you. So since there was a particular individual that I was next to in Shir, in the Beis Medrash, he had his cell phone on and I had my cell phone on, and they know because he took a COVID test that he came out positive. They go backwards and they said, you were next to this guy for more than 15 minutes. You need to be in your house right now. They sent me a text. I got a text. Stay in your house. They tell you until what time of the day, until what day you could be in your house. And if they find you outside of your house, you get a huge fine. It's 5,000 shekel. And they come knocking on your door once in a while to make sure that you're home. I know of people that got home visits. And they want to see that you're in the house. If you tell them you are sleeping, they say, wake the guy up. Come to the door. So that's what happened. Yeshua also got that text because he was in the Beis Medrash serving water to me and to Nachman Seltzer. Now, Nachman Seltzer might have not gotten the text because he has a kosher phone. I don't know. Or maybe he's just not telling us. But he's not watching now, so it doesn't really matter. Says the Gemara. But it's good to break up this very complicated sugya with the way the Shabak works with COVID. So says the Gemara like this. I can, on Shabbos, give my house to you, Avi, and my house becomes yours. What do I gain by that? The whole reason why I cannot walk from my house, go out, Dr. Mazinkas, the reason why I can't walk out from my house into the chutzner, or I could walk out, that you see I misspoke. The reason why I can't take something out, I can't take my Gemara, my art scroll Gemara, out of my house, is because this chutzner is not a private domain, it's a public domain. I can't go from my house into a public domain. So when I make an eruv, it's not public anymore, it becomes private, it's all everybody's. But there's another trick. Without an eruv, I could give my property, my house, to Avi Kamiansky, and therefore he owns both of these houses. If he owns both of these houses, this courtyard is automatically a private domain. Without an eruv, it's owned by Avi Kamiansky. This whole area right here is owned by one person. Oh, I can do this on Shabbos. Says the Gemara, and therefore what? Therefore, I'm not stuck. My house is not boarded up. I could get out of my house into my courtyard, and from my courtyard, there's a continuation. My house, courtyard, mavoi. I'm not stuck. Says the Gemara, take all the houses, give it to one guy. Says the Gemara, wait a minute, you forgot the klal. The klal is that we need 4 houses. By me giving my house over to Avi, so in theory, there's only one house here. Because, physically there might be buildings, but we're talking about ownership of 4 houses. We need 4 separate owners. It's not buildings. It could be a giant house is considered one house. It can be tiny little houses considered two houses. The point is that the owners are different. And if I give my ownership over to Avi, then there's only one bailam here. And Rav says you need 4 bailam, 4 houses, and 2 chatzeros that are communal chatzeros. Says the Gemara, okay, I have a way out of that also. Efshar de mitzafro vat palge de yoima ligavichad. From the morning till the afternoon, I give my house to Avi. So, house number 1 and 2, so really 2, Avi lives in 2, so 2 is the house. Then, then Avi gives it all back to me. You could do so on Shabbos. I could give my house to him on Shabbos. He gives it back to me. And Memela, in this mavoi over Shabbos, there were 2 owners, or a total of 4 owners. If you look at the other chatzar, says the Gemara, that doesn't help me because at one moment I didn't have 4 ownerships. Yeah, over the entire Shabbos I had 4 owners. But in the morning, if I just take the morning, Avi owns both houses. So I didn't, at that time that he owns both houses, I don't have 4 houses. I only have 3. So if bidden the isi lahai leisa lahai. Elo Maravashi, this is it. The final line over here. Now this is smooth sailing, one of the easiest Gemaras in Shas, I think. This coming up on it. Omer Ravashi mi garm lechatzeir asru batim vilekya. So says Ravashi. Ravashi obviously is the one that wrote the Gemara. Ravina and Ravashi wrote the Gemara. So he always has the final say. He comes in and he says, okay, it's him. He's not going to put himself before everybody. He wrote it and he's writing. Elo Amar Ravashi, mi garam, or his son wrote it. Mi garam lechatzeir she'asru batim vilekya. Complicated words here, but basically what it means is that forget about this whole 2 and 4 houses. We're going away from that. He's saying a very simple idea. That if the house has an eruv, then what's going to happen? If the house has an eruv, then I am going to take my Gemara. Let's just take a Gemara as an example. I'm going to go from my house into my backyard, my front yard, into my courtyard with my Gemara. Why? Because I'm allowed to. I have an eruv. The concern is you're going to go one step further and bring it into the mavoi. We're talking about there's no shituf. There's no eruv on the mavoi. So that's why the Gemara says there's a difference. Remember, we had the question. We started out with the question. You hear Levi, he's all by himself. Levi Friedman, if you look on the screen, he's in the Beis Medrash because he says it's the most holiest place in Eretz Yisrael. He refuses to daven in a minyan, daven just in the Beis Medrash. He's in a dark Beis Medrash that looks like without any lights. There he is. Fine. It's not a background. That 8 on the ceiling is the actual Beis Medrash, Levi Friedman. Fine. So what's going on is as follows. We said a difference. If a person makes an eruv, it makes it worse for him. And if there's no eruv, it's better for him. What's the pshat? Very simple. If there's no eruv between a house and the chutzner, there's no eruv over here. I can't. So I'm never going to bring my Gemara out from my house to my chutzner because there's no eruv. And if I'm not going to bring my Gemara out from my house to my chutzner, it's never going to end up in a mavoi. There's no reason for me to think that I might end up in a mavoi. So I'm allowed to walk around in my mavoi if I have a Gemara in my mavoi. Erev Shabbos, I'm allowed to walk in the entire mavoi back and forth. Because I'm not concerned that I'm going to bring a Gemara from my house. It's too far away for me to bring it. There's no eruv. Nobody will ever take out something from their house without an eruv. But if there's an eruv, I got to be concerned because then I'm taking stuff out of my house all the time. So I want to learn in the morning in my front yard with my coffee. So I bring my Gemara outside into my front yard. 5 minutes later, my neighbor comes along and grabs the Gemara and brings it into the mavoi. Because I already did step 1. I already brought it from my house to my chutzner. Now by mistake, it could go from my chutzner to my mavoi, and there's no eruv in my mavoi. So that's why I'm telling you that if there's a eruv, I have to be careful. It might get to the mavoi. If there's no eruv, it'll never get to the mavoi. Yichap. I think we should do this Gemara one more time. I'm not kidding. Let's do this Gemara one more time. I've never done this before, but I think we should do it because it's so simple and it seems complicated. We'll go read it real quickly. Itmar. If you have a mavoi, right, like over here, that there's no eruv, you could only carry 4 amas. Rabbi Barvu explains, and he says, no. If there's no eruv in the mavoi, called a shituf mavois, then it depends whether they made an eruv between the house and the chatzar. Eruv chatzeris and batim, by elabar bahamas. If they made an eruv, then it's a problem. And initially it sounds crazy. You made an eruv between the house and the chatzar, then you cannot carry in the mavoi. Only 4 amas. Loy eruv chatzeris and batim, but if there's no eruv between the house and the grass, mutal b'kulei, then you can go all over the mavoi. Why do you say this? The nitku chatzeres v'nasu batim, because we're talking about a technical issue here, not a gzeira. Because Rav says that you have to have 4 houses and 2 chatzeros, we're not going to have the chatzeros in this case. You need 4 houses and 2 chatzeros. Since you made a eruv, says the Gemara, what you just did is combine the chatzar to the house, and therefore you don't have a chatzar anymore. We view how technically houses and no chatzeros. Says the Gemara, but if that's the case, if that's the case, then even without an eruv, this mavoi doesn't have houses. Why? Because you can never get from the house to the mavoi. Not walking. You can't bring a chayfetz, can't be metaltal, your whatever it is, a gemara, from the house to the mavoi, because this chatzar in between stops you. You can't go from a house to a chatzar without an eruv. And we're talking about in the case there's no eruv. So that would say that technically speaking, this mavoi doesn't have houses. Says the Gemara, that's not true. I have a way out of it. How? If one person takes his house and gives it over on Shabbos to his friend, then that friend is the sole owner of that chatzar, and therefore he could move around from his house to the chatzar, and then he has a way to get to the mavoi. It's not sealed off. Says the Gemara, that could work, but soif bais ikka batim leka. But at the end of the day, you need 4 houses, and if I give over my house to somebody else on Shabbos, now we're missing a house. It's one owner for 2 houses. That's considered one house. Says the Gemara, well, what if he gives it back? So over Shabbos, from the morning until the afternoon, it's owned by Reuven, and from the afternoon to the evening, it's owned by Shimon. So at the end of the day, this mavoi had 4 houses over a Shabbos. Says the Gemara, that's not good enough. So if you need 4 houses at the same exact time, and that only happened over an entire Shabbos. So if there is no eruv, then the house causes me to, if there's an eruv between the house and the chatzar, then I could bring something out of my house into the chatzar. I have to make a gzeira now that you should not be able to walk at all in the mavoi, because I have an item here, and I have a mavoi that has no eruv in it, and you might come to walk in it. So I say, don't walk at all, 4 amas, that's it. But if there's no eruv in the houses, between the house and the chatzar, then you're not going to take an item out, and therefore I have no chashash that you might bring an item from your house to the mavoi. So if there's an item in the mavoi from before Shabbos, go ahead, walk with it as much as you want. Why? Because we hold like Rebbe Shimon. Maybe I didn't point this out enough. It's a good thing we went over the sugya again. Rav holds like Rebbe Shimon. Like we said yesterday, the gagois, chatzeros, karfifiyos are all considered one rishus. In other words, my chatzar and my mavoi is all one. So I can walk around and do whatever I want from one rishus to the other. I just can't go out from my house, the private domain, into the chatzar. But from the chatzar, the mavoi, and everything, I could walk around. All right, now comes the easy sugya. Amar Reb Chia bar Abba Rabbi Yochanan. Loila kol Amar Reb Eliezer machshir mitzvah doichen Shabbos. So the Mishnah is talking about machshir mitzvah, things that are, what's the English word? The things that are necessary for this mitzvah. So when it came to Mila, we said cutting a tree, to make a fire, to heat up the metal. All these melachas d'oraisa are mutter to get to the Mila. Says the Gemara, but not everything is like that. Not in all mitzvahs. We're going to go through a whole list of mitzvahs that you could do machshir mitzvah. We're holding Daf Kuf Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph by the new sugya. 10 lines down. You have to bring 2 breads on Shavuos. Now, if there would be a blanket halacha, all machshirei mitzvah in the world you could perform on Shabbos, so I don't need a special limud of a gzeira shava, which is a very powerful limud. I take 2 words that are similar, and I learn something out from it. Why do I need it? I have a blanket statement. I could go on Shabbos, get in my car, drive down, take a machine, and cut the wheat, and start grinding the wheat, and make 2 breads, bake them, blah, 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 the whole thing. Why do I need Gzeir Shava? I just said all machshir mitzvah is okay. You see from here that it's not all machshir mitzvah. How do I know that by shtei alechem, all of a sudden, when it comes to machshirei, the things that are necessary to make the bread, you could do so on Shabbos. Nemar hava ba'omer. It says you shall bring when by omer, not shtei alechem. Omer on Pesach you bring the carbon omer of barley. V'nemar hava b'shtei alechem, and it all says the same word. So when you have 2 words, you make Gzeir Shava, not if you feel like it, but this Moshe Rabbeinu brought them in the Shemayim. This Gzeir Shava is all the way from Sinai. V'nemar hava b'shtei alechem. Ma hava amor b'omer machshirin d'chnas Shabbos. Just like when it comes to Omer. For the carbon Omer, I could be Mechal Shabbos. That I know. So I'm learning the 2 breads on Shavuos from the Omer. Now, many times when the Gemara brings a Gzeir Shava, the Gemara goes through the following exercise. This is Gzeir Shava that has 2 words. They're the same words. But if the 2 words are not extra, it doesn't say the word, let's say right before, then I could take this Gzeir Shava and make a pircha and say, Moshe Rabbeinu did not bring this Gzeir Shava down from Shemayim. You're making this up because there's no connection between Omer and Shnei Lechem. Because Omer is 2 and Omer is 1 and Shnei Lechem is 2. You can just make up whatever you want. You could be mafrechit very easily. Now, if these words are extra, they're super powerful. Then it's a powerful Gzeir Shava. There's no pircha. I don't care how different the things are. You can't break it. What if there's only 1 extra word? Machlaikis. Okay. Says the Gemara, mufni. All the 2 words of hava, they're completely extra. And therefore, this is the most powerful Gzeir Shava. And why did Reb Lezer need a Gzeir Shava? He has a klal that machshirei mitzvah, go ahead, be Mechal Shabbos for it. Obviously, he doesn't hold it as a blanket rule. Many mitzvahs yes, some mitzvahs not. Because if these words are not extra, Omer is very powerful, that if you go on Shabbos and you find wheat that's already cut down, not l'shem mitzvahs Omer, cut away on Shabbos with your machine, take your tractor, cut down some wheat, be Mechal Shabbos. But by the 2 breads of Shavuos, shemotza kotzer any kotzer. That doesn't apply to the 2 breads of Shavuos. Says the Gemara, lie, you're 100% right. If nui mufne, indeed, the words are extra, so it's a very powerful Gzeir Shava. Michtik siv v'havesim is oimer reishik tzirchim alakoyin. Already says the pasuk, you should bring the oimer. B'yom haviyachim lamali. So why do I need this whole the pasuk later? B'yom haviyachim is extra. Shma min olafnui. So I see from here extra word. Vakati. Okay, you just explained one of the 2 sides. You explained it by oimer that it's extra. What about by shtei alechem? Vakati moved him tzadechadu. Ushmini leila Rebbe Lezer, the Omar moved him tzadechad lemeidim umeshivim. Now, according to one man, the Omar Rebbe Lezer, very important man, the Omar in the sugya, because he's the author of this whole idea of machshirei mitzvah. He's the one. He's Rebbe Lezer of our Mishnah. He holds that 1 is not enough. You need in both sides. Omer, shtei alechem, both have to have extra words that are not necessary, and therefore you have a Gzeir Shava that's not penetrable. You can't break it. Says you're right. Taviu ribuyahu. I have an extra word. The word taviu by shtei alechem. That's extra. Therefore, it's a very powerful Gzeir Shava. Says the Gemara. Now it really becomes easy. Limutei mai. Ilaim limutei lulav. So what mitzvah? Why are you smirking, Noam? I wasn't trying to fool everybody. It really is easy. What mitzvah can you not do on Shabbos? The hechsher mitzvah. Is it lulav? I can't climb up a palm tree and cut down a lulav. And we're going to go into each and every one to learn it out. So Rebbe Eliezer says, a lulav, I could climb on a tree, take a saw, cut on Shabbos, drive, do the whole thing, just to shake a lulav in shul. What about building a sukkah? Could I cut down wood, build a sukkah? Rebbe Eliezer holds even by sukkah. What about, could I make a matzah on Shabbos? Put it in the oven, grind it, do the whole thing. Yes. The reason I'm saying it's so simple is because it's the same thing repetitive, over and over, the same thing. What about a shofar? Could I cut it off a ram's head on Shabbos? Yes. They're only according to Rebbe Eliezer, of course. Chachamim and Rebbe Akiva in the Mishnah arguing Rebbe Eliezer, you can't do this. And we said yesterday, we don't pass him like Rebbe Eliezer, we pass him like Rebbe Akiva. Chachamim. I found it. I cannot tie my tzitzis, which is Issa D'Oraisa, on Shabbos, and I can't write a mezuzah. Writing a mezuzah is Issa D'Oraisa. I can't do that for my house. If I go ahead and I write a mezuzah on Shabbos, chayiv misa. My time, Rav Yosef, there's no specific time when you have to write a mezuzah, when I have to put tzitzis on. I could buy a pair of tzitzis and I have to put it on for my whole life. I want to point out a very important Tosfos. Finally, Tosfos says the idea of, what are you smiling? We have 9 minutes left. I'm watching you, I have my eyes on you. You're the center of my screen. And I know what you're thinking. When you roll your eye this way and that way, I know that you're saying there's 9 minutes and there's no time for Tosfos, but there is. There goes the screen. So, Tosfos says the idea of it's not about the Yomi, it's not about the Daf, it's about the Yomi. It's not about the Daf, it's about the Yomi. Because Tosfos asks a question. Later on, the Gemara says that bris milah, no matter what, you could always do a bris all the way to the end of your life. You could be 95 years old, do a bris. Says Tosfos, if so, say the same thing about tzitzis. I could always take care of my tzitzis tomorrow. Says Tosfos, yes. You got to see this. 5 lines from the bottom. Every single day you have a chiyuv. Even if you did it today, you have to do it tomorrow. So therefore, tzitzis, if a day goes by and you didn't do it, yes, you have to do it tomorrow. If you don't do it today, the yomi, yeah, you can learn Gemara tomorrow, but you're going to miss today. Today will never come back. So you missed out on the mitzvah of tzitzis. Bris milah is different. If I do it tomorrow, then I had a bris. It's a one-time deal. You only have to do it once in your life. Torah, tzitzis, mezuzah, you have to do it every single day. Yes, you have to do it tomorrow, but it doesn't take away from the fact that you didn't do it the day before. Says the Gemara. Last line on the bottom. Since tzitzis and mezuzah don't have a time, we turned the page. Sponsored by Rib Fischel from Official Catering called Shata V'Shata Zmanihu. At the end of the day, every single minute is a time to do tzitzis. So I should be Michal Shabbos for tzitzis. And Rashi over here points out that a lot of Rishonim Mecholikim, he says, even if your tzitzis, your beged, is in a drawer, you're mechuyev to put tzitzis on it. Interesting. Since I could take my tzitzis, my beged, and be mafkirit, say, my clothing, my dal kanfas is owned by Avi, so if it's owned by Avi, I am not mechuyev, at least for 30 days, I'm not mechuyev to put on tzitzis, so therefore, I'm not chayiv to be Michal Shabbos on it. I could be mafkirit. Okay. Omar, now we're going back to each and every one, and they're very similar all the way to the bottom of the Amud. Lulav v'chol machshir v'doichem es Shabbos divri Rebbe Eliezer. Minolei Rebbe Eliezer. How do you know that by lulav you could cut the actual lulav off a tree on Shabbos, be Michal Shabbos? If you're going to learn it out from the two things that we just learned before, from Omer Shtei Lechem, that's not true. You can't. No comparison. I'm bringing them to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Maybe for HaKadosh Baruch Hu I can be Michal Shabbos, but not me. I'm doing a mitzvah, personal mitzvah, not. Elam Akra Bayoim. What does Bayoim mean? Today. Bayoim Afil Shabbos. Cut it off the tree. Now, if the Torah is only coming to tell me that I can move it, It's called the Mishra Tiltul. There's no Issa Derais on Tiltul. Tiltul was invented by Chachamim. Says the Gemara, Elul Machshirov, to tell you that it could climb up a tree and do other things to prepare for the mitzvah. What are Rabbanan who argue and say you cannot prepare for a mitzvah on Shabbos? Lulav, you don't shake at night. How does he know it? There's another pasuk. And what do Rabbanan do with the second pasuk? I would think the Gemara in Sukkah tells us that a sukkah, the chiv of sukkah is even at night. So I would think that I'd learn a lulav, you should shake lulavim at night. So I need this other pasuk. Afkan yomim v'afilu leilos kamash malon. So now the Gemara is going to do this every step of the way. Once I know that this concept that I could climb up a tree and do machshir mitzvah, cut a lulav on Shabbos, so learn shtei alechem and omer from lulav. How? Mematzinu. Just like we find by lulav, so too by omer and shtei alechem. We should learn everything you have from a lulav. Lulav needs an esrog. A lulav without an esrog is nothing. As Taisvas, what about shtei alechem? You need wine, you need a carbon, you need this. Yeah, but it's not ma'akiv. You bring it, and then later on you want. But a lulav by itself, if you ever saw a guy come to show with a lulav, it's zero. It's not that he did 25%, he did zero. We have the same exact sugya all over again. How do we know they could build a sukkah, cut down trees to build a sukkah on Shabbos? According to Rebbe Lezer, if you're learning a mematzinu, just from Omer, but that's a carbon for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like we said a second ago. If you're going to learn from lulav, we already had this pircha before. It needs an esrog. It's a gzera shava. What kind of gzera shava? Weak one, a strong one? Fine. Bottom line is I learn a sukkah from lulav because it says shivas yamim here, it says shivas yamim there, type of gzera shava. Avkan machshireo deichnas Shabbos, therefore it pushes off Shabbos just like a lulav. So once I know sukkah, let's learn the other things from it. Let's learn shtei alechem and omer from it. Why not learn lulav from it? Because I just learned sukkah from lulav. I can't learn lulav from sukkah when I learn sukkah from a lulav. Fine. But I can learn omer and shtei alechem from it. A sukkah, you sleep in the sukkah at night. I don't know, Rashi doesn't say that, but you have to eat in the sukkah. If you're going to eat a meal, even at night, eat in the sukkah. But lulav, you only do in the day. Can't learn. I'm sorry, the omer and the shtei alechem during the day, not at night. Matzah v'chol machshirei doichem is a Shabbos divrei Rebbe Lezer. How do you know they're allowed to make a matzah, bake it, and cook it, and grind it on Shabbos? I cannot learn now from shtei alechem because that's a carbon for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I can't learn now. Shekein Torah arba minim, you need esrog. Sukkah shekein neheges baleilos kebiyamim. Taisus points out that the Gemara is just using the same lashon over and over, but in fact a matzah is at night. The chiyuv of the kazayis that we eat is at nighttime, not in the daytime. So the Gemara just said the reverse. It's night bayamim, but not. Ela gomer chamisha asa mechag asukos. Malal on machshirei dochis Shabbos. Afkam machshirei dochis Shabbos. I learned matzah from sukkah. So let me just say it by matzah and learn everything else from a matzah. Each one has its own special chumrah or special thing to it. Matzah is, women are also chayav matzah. Anybody who cannot eat chametz must eat matzah. And women, even though it's a mitzvah saseh as man grama, they're mechuyev matzah because they can't eat chametz. I could cut off a shofar on Shabbos, according to Rebbe Lezer. How does he know it? If I learn now from shtei alechem, going through the same exact thing over and over. Shtei alechem is very special. It's a carbon HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I need an esrog. A sukkah is chayv at night. We just added this one. Matzah is for women also. Ela makro and shofar not. Ela makro yom trua yelochem bayoim afilu b'Shabbos. Now, same kind of limud that we had before. It says bayom, it means even on Shabbos. Ulamai. If the Torah is telling us blow on Shabbos, we just had it a few weeks ago. That shofar and taking the lafas off the side of the oven is not a malacha, it's a chachma. Chachma ve'ena malacha. So you're allowed to do it on Shabbos. You're allowed to blow. I don't need a pasuk to tell me you can blow a shofar on Shabbos. What do you do with the word bayom? To teach us you don't blow the shofar at night. So how does Reb Lezer already use up the word bayom? Yom Kippur, that falls out on a yovel. It says in the pasuk bayom, only during the day. So I learned Rosh Hashanah from yovel. Now Rashi brings, because it says an extra word by Yom Kippur. It says B'chodesh Hashvi. It's completely extra because I know that Yom Kippur is on the 7th month. Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz of Elul Tishrei, the 7th month. And Memela, why does the Torah say it? To teach us that all the blowing of the shofar of that month, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, B'chodesh Hashvi, anything that has to do with Chodesh Hashvi is B'yayim. In other words, which limud are we trying to learn here? That it's only in the day and not at night. But once the Torah tells me I can be Michal Shabbos to cut a shofar for the machshir, let me learn out Sukkah, Lulav, Pesach, Matzah, Omer, Shnei Lechem, all the things. Says Gemara, I can't learn it out from regular Rosh Hashanah. It's beautiful because the shofar brings me close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zechroinus, HaKadosh Baruch Hu remembers us. Mitkeh shofar de Yom Kippur. What about the second one on Yom Kippur? Like the migmer. Damar mar taku bezdin shofar. Nifteru avodim levatayim. It's special, this shofar, that yes, a slave, a Jewish slave, gets out of Rosh Hashanah, but he's not completely free until Yom Kippur. So the blowing of the shofar creates something, creates freedom. Nifteru avodim levatayim v'sadis chayzu lebaleim, and all the fields, not all, besides the ones above, but a typical field you buy real estate goes back to the original owner when you blow the shofar on Yovel. I guess we'll stop here, even though it's a continuation of the sugya. The Gemara is just going to go into what about Mila? How does Rebbe Lezer know that Mila? Finally, we spoke about all these things, but what about Mila? How do we know that Mila is doicha Shabbos, to make a knife and a fire, etc.? Have a wonderful Geshmaka day.
Then for us, Abraham David and Sarah as well. Shiram Allah is Namakim Prosifah.
And Ephraim Freeman's. Shema Allah is Namakim Prosifah. You
Adonai Shema B'Klit, Kiner Zachak HaShavah Sekot Adonai.
Shema B'Klit, Kiner Zachak HaShavah Sekot Adonai.
Ima B'nai Tishmoya Adonai Miyamoy.
Ima B'nai Tishmoya Adonai Miyamoy.
Kimcha Haslicho L'man Tivorei.
Kimcha Haslicho L'man Tivorei.
Yizad Nakibsa Nafshi V'Libro Chalti.
Yizad Nakibsa V'Libro Chalti.
Nafshirat Nam Mishamim L'Boiker, Shamim L'Boiker.
Nafshirat Nam Mishamim L'Boiker, Shamim L'Boiker.
Yachal Yisrael Adonai Kivna Chesed V'Abay Markedus.
Yachal Yisrael Adonai Kivna Chesed V'Abay Markedus.
Suif Tes Yisrael Mikol Ben Yisrael.
Suif Tes Yisrael Mikol Ben Yisrael. Amen.
What a beautiful shir. Tesvach is also in Tukki, an amazing Rebbe. Ruvain has green is new.
All right, Rabbi Boyce, how's everybody doing? Yeah, yo, you saw your picture? I showed your picture today. Who's doing the Siyum in Chicago? We have to still decide. Ask Yosef Ben Zev in Chicago, Benzi Freeman, Louis Colum. These are the